On today's Minute of the Apes, I will no longer domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Domo domo.
Exercise with an ape maker, human down. It talks. With a divine bound. We are determined to know what the apes want. War or peace.
The only good human is a dead human.
And if it is man's destiny one day to be dominated, then oh please God, let him be dominated by such as you.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. Your singing partner over there is Sean. Richard, why didn't you sing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading the minute notes.
Richard. Hey, JJ just said, did you hear that?
No.
JJ just said he's being Richard.
Well, we just wanted you to
say bye, JJ and Nala.
Bye, JJ and Nala.
Bye, JJ Nala.
Get her nails clipped.
All right, so here we are, minute 40. Sean, tell us what's going on. We're not even going to batter around anymore. Just tell us what's happening.
All right, we're starting minute 40 with the inspector saying, "Now there you see," and ends with Caesar hearing of Armando's death.
All right, let's take a listen to minute 40 of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Now there. You see? But that's not really a bad black mark against you. You most probably heard it somewhere else before. Now, about your statement, sworn statement, that the circus ape is incapable of speech.
No, I won't submit to this.
You will, Senor Armando.
I have done nothing wrong. You are treating me like a criminal.
Sit back, please.
No.
Guard!
No. Hell no.
I knew that circus owner was lying.
But they insist he fell to his death accidentally.
While trying to escape, he knew he'd been exposed.
Well, as of minute 40, we've got a courtyard's worth of gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, imported apes, Caesar, and a planet's worth of humans.
Uh-oh. Easy, Nala.
Well, okay, so just to let you know what that is, that's Nala being very excited because when JJ puts the harness on Nala knows that means she's going outside, means she's probably going to work because JJ works for Chewy's and does pet photography, and Nala is a model up there, so she knows she's going outside to do stuff. In this case, she's going to get her toenails clipped, and she doesn't know that, but she is excited to go out.
And it's funny because I always tell my wife that we sound like the Bumpuses from A Christmas Story. Whenever our dogs know they're going for a walk, you know, the Bumpuses have all the dogs next door. It's just like, oh my God. So here we are in this minute. Despite all the problems, I want to say right up front, Ricardo can act. Man, this guy can take even a bad scene and make you believe that he's in it and really make it work.
Well, Culp and Hoskins let him down because he's having to carry this one himself.
Well, not only that, some of the directing lets him down too, because if the Authenticator is this weird blue beam of light, right away at the first of it, in fact, I'm going to have to zip back a little bit. Hang on, I'm going to tell you. We get them, he's sitting in the dentist chair, and they're walking to him, and when it finally goes to an over-the-shoulder, so we see Culp, and that's roughly around the 8 to 10 second mark, there's already a blue light on his head. He's backlit. And there's a blue light. If the Authenticator is supposed to be this thing that's scary, that should not be just on him. That's where this thing isn't a threat. It doesn't just come on and do something to make him tell the truth or make things worse. It's just sort of omnipresent. It's almost like they just turn on some disco lighting.
And yeah, again, we should have seen the authenticator being used on somebody else.
That's a good
before.
idea.
And we need to establish why he's so scared of it that he takes the action he's going to take in a minute. Because as far as we know, all it's just saying is you signed this piece of paper and that it's going to tell us that you lied. So you lied. Why you don't know where Caesar is right now. So let's say, all right, you admit I have a talking ape. Caesar is a talking ape. They don't know where Caesar is because he's just another ape that's in the facility, in the system, that picked a random name that happens to be Caesar and all this kind of stuff. So there are no stakes for him besides the fact that he's going to admit that he had a talking ape.
And why is that? What's the bad thing about admitting it? They're not saying that they're going to do anything with it. They need to address the truth that you're now admitting it. We're going to get him. We're going to kill. It needs to be more threatening. It's sort of just this blasé conversation, except for Ricardo losing his shit and then eventually jumping out of the dentist chair, and he has a limp. Why does he have a limp?
He hasn't had a cane.
He walked in 5.
This would have been good if we established that this has happened over a week, that he's been tortured, that he's been beaten, all this kind of stuff. But no, he's in the same clothes. He's a little bit sweaty. He's been put under a blue light. Oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever.
If he's even in a holding cell and somebody takes a baton to his knee and then he's limping, that we now get the building escalation of this. Richard, I know you're trying to talk.
I was just sorry. I'm looking at some of the shots again because you pointed out at the beginning, and now I'm just kind of really annoyed. The fact that they are cutting back and forth between a tight on Armando, it looks like the room behind him is entirely black and there's no blue light on him, to a shot over his head where you see the blue light, you see the back of the chair in the back of the room looks lit, to a slightly wider shot where you can see the blue from the windows behind him and there's nothing dark behind him. It's a mess of different shots that don't set him right. Like if he's going to be in that spotlight with the entire back part of the room dark, it should remain that way for the other shots.
The
authenticator's on, then the authenticator's off, then the authenticator's on, then the authenticator's off.
Well, I mean, talking about the limp, Todd, I mean, here's what you do. You go back to a torture scene there, or even a quote-unquote friendly accident of, hey, you love the chimp so much, whack in the hip. Why don't you walk like one? And so, then he starts limping like a chimp. Yeah.
So we also have the moment when he gets up and he's getting away from the dentist chair and he's limping, that the guard just comes in on their own. That's fine if we're seeing guards outside of it watch either through to a glass or having a camera feed. Why does that guard know to come in? Because, I mean, literally, it is within seconds of Armando jumping up. No one signaled that guard. No one's hit an emergency button. He just burst in the door.
Yeah, I'm going back to the previous. I'm just making sure. I'm going back. I don't know why he's in there.
Now, I do have a lot of fun because I've said before how much I love musicals, but the moment when the guard gets him, it literally sounds like West Side Story when Bernardo and Tony start fighting. I was like, they're going to start fighting with knives and singing. I wish they had. But this all leads to the big moment that Sean, you were very right about. Armando goes splat.
I mean, this goes from 0 to 100 as fast as possible.
It really, really, really does. And this moment, him going out the window, if you have to go back to how the scene sets up of them going up the Civic Center building to understand how high they are. Because for the first moment, I'm thinking, is he just going to fall in a shrub and get up, dust off, and walk away? Right? But But then, of course, he goes out the window, and we see the blurring camera as it kind of is supposed to be him falling, right?
Which is a good way to do it without doing a special effect. We get what's happening. But, man, all this is so right. It just... There's no escalation to it. Just, to Sean's point with the Authenticator, if you want to set something with it, we should have seen it being used on somebody before. For the window, yes, they've been in the background, but they're just more blue lights. We should have seen him acknowledging there were windows there. He should have visually done that. I do have a funny thing I just noticed, though. If you go to about the 40-second mark in when he's battling the guard, and it's kind of a tight two-shot. Does he do a titty twister on the guard to get away from him? Literally, if you watch it, it's almost like he just sort of titty twist him.
It does look like one, doesn't it? Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, do you just call it a titty twister? I always grew up, because I grew up in Texas, calling it a Texas titty twister.
I just did titty twister. Maybe that's because you're further south Texas than I was.
All right.
This should be a moment that I am really upset at the death of the last hope for Caesar. I should really feel a lot more than I do from this moment. There was just not enough built up for me to I mean, yeah, I'm upset about Armando dying, but I don't, it didn't have the impact that it should.
Well, think of it this way. Armando, we've had for 37 minutes in the length of the movie, in this movie, but not 37 minutes total. What? Probably 15 minutes maybe of Armando in this movie. And then in the previous movie, we had him the last half hour.
Maybe.
And out of that, it wasn't that much. So we've had Armando. We know Armando in the physical sense, 20 minutes worth. Not, So
yeah, maybe that's why we just need to get to spend enough time with him.
They haven't set up stakes with him. They haven't set up. There should have been a relationship before. I know we were flying in on a helicopter and all that kind of stuff to get there, but there just should have been 10 minutes of them living their life, doing the circus, making the rounds.
See, I don't think you have to have
why they need to come into the city. And we don't get any of that, so we don't have a real bond except for that one scene in the parking garage where they're so upset that they're leaving each other, but we didn't set up why that's so important, except for that he's raised him for 18 years, of which we have seen none of it. So there is not an emotional connection to Armando that gives us the stakes that him sacrificing himself, again, we don't know why, because we don't know what the Authenticator does. We don't know. He can't tell them anything except for, yes, I have a talking ape. Outside of that, what can he tell them?
I think there
are no stakes to this death. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And I'm sorry I kept interrupting. I just didn't know where you were. That's the weird thing about doing this over Zoom. I can't see your face as much. I can see it, but not as much.
I'm getting
all of a sudden I look over at Sean. It's a very weird shot where I see his ceiling and he's going to drink alcohol. I think that you're absolutely right about what's been built before. I also think it's the way the death is handled that loses all its resonance. There are two things to this. I'm going to compare it to Star Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the Armando character in that film. That's what Armando should have been. There should be that relationship. Really, if you watch Obi-Wan, we maybe by the time he dies in episode 4, we maybe get him for 30 minutes of screen time. Maybe.
Yeah, but they've set up a relationship with him.
It's totally there. We understand why when he dies, why it resonates with Luke. But here's also the reason it resonates. Because Luke gets to experience it instead of just being told about it. Now, you can have it be told about and he can experience it. But it's this weird cut to the governor and him screaming about it.
I knew he had a talking.
Which
I knew the circus owner was lying.
Well, it then pulls back to a shot that we see that Caesar's in it and his head turns. That is an absolute mistake. We should have, pulled back and we see Caesar in it and he hears about it. Cut to his face immediately. His face is what tells us all the emotion. If we're not going to see Armando's dead body, then his dead body is resonated in Roddy's reaction. They cheat us of that. And now the camera eventually pushes into him slow. It's a mistake.